Hello everyone, myself Manidipa Deb. I am presenting on behalf of my group. My group member is Joydeep Sarkar, Rahul Kar, Sasanka Debnath, Ujjwal. Our presentation topic is Basic Teaching Model. The basic teaching model was developed by Robert Glaser on the basis of psychological principles. It is termed as basic because it tries to explain the whole teaching process in an appropriate way, dividing into the following four basic components. Components of basic teaching model. First one is instructional objective. This indicates the stipulated goal that a student is supposed to attain upon completion of a part of instruction. Next component is entering behavior. It means the initial behavior of the student before the beginning of instruction. It is his basic potential or level of performance in terms of educational ability, comprising the factors like previous knowledge of the subject or subjects, intellectual ability, learning ability, and motivational state. The assessment of entering behavior is a significant aspect of an instructional process. Usually, it is a starting point, but in this model, it occupies the second place and is viewed in a context of the preset instructional objectives. However, in actual teaching learning situations, both interact to influence and help each other for the success of the whole instructional process. Next component is instructional procedure. These are the most active or functional parts of teaching process. These represent the teaching methods, strategies, and student-teacher interactions patterns involved in teaching. The first two components are the stipulated instructional objectives and the entering behavior and work as a deciding base of the selections and use of
কেউ
instructional procedure.
হ্যাঁ চলে চলে
Next, performance assessment. The last component is related with the task for assessing the
কত
performance of the learner.
হ্যাঁ
In terms
আই
of one's entry
আগুন তো
behavior and stipulated
কখন আবার বেরিয়েব
objectives, this terminal behavior
আবার বেরিয়েব
is assessed through some suitable evaluations techniques. The assessment of the performance may prove as an effective feedback device for each of the steps and elements of teaching process. These objectives may be modified and instructional procedures may be improved based on the end results shown under the performance step. Description of basic component of teaching. First one is focus. The model tries to pinpoint the four basic functions, process, and measure activities comprising the whole teaching process. The sequence to be followed in the instructional process also is brought into limelight. Next description is syntax. The flow of objectives in the model is quite sequential. Firstly, the objectives to be achieved, the interactions carried out by the teacher are then attempts are made to assess the potential of the learners in terms of their entry behavior. Then, in the light of the entry behavior, the school instructional work is carried out to achieve the stipulated uh, objectives, and how far these objectives have been realized is ascertained in the last phase of this model. Next description is the social system. This model is sufficiently structured and supposed to be dominated by the active role and control of the teacher on the whole process of instructions from the beginning till the end. Its success depends on the competency and ability of the teacher in the term of an acquisitions of various skills like formulations of objectives, employment of methods and strategies, and techniques of evaluation. Next description is principles of reactions. The main principles of reactions are summarized here. First one is principles of active involvement and expertise. The teacher has to remain quite active in the executions of the model. He has to acquire essential skill in the formulations of objectives, assessment of entry and terminal behavior, and devising suitable means and the way of realization of the set objectives. Next is principles of interdependence. The four stages involving objectives, entry behavior, instructional process and assessment of its outcomes are quite interconnected and interdependent. Then is principles of corrections and follow-up. If the assessment in terms of the terminal behavior does not match with the aspirations in terms of the set objectives and the entry behavior, there lies something wrong either with the instructional process or with the setting of the objectives. Anything going wrong should be detected and followed with the necessary corrections and subsequent activities for the improvement of the process. Next is support system. The model for its success requires additional support in the terms of following things: requirement of the sufficient pre-service and in-service training facilities for teachers to acquire needed skills and competencies for the use of the model. Next is need for the desirable teaching learning situations and environment for the employment of the suitable teaching strategies and instructional technology. Need for the appropriate evaluations device for the assessment of the entry and terminal behavior of the pupil. Next is applications. This model is applicable to any teaching learning situations, preferably dominated by the teacher and requiring the flow of knowledge and information in a quite systematic and structured way, and realizing some well defined instructional objectives within the limited means of the usual classroom situations. Thank you.